Okay, so I don't normally do this. I usually show my face, but I feel gross today and I look just as gross. I've talked before about ways to stay organized while writing your novel, but so far I've only been showing you how I personally do it with Word files. And of course, that's not the only way to do it. There's also novel writing software where you can keep all your work in one place. There's a lot available online. Some are better than others, which you're going to see. Some of them are paid, either monthly or a one-time fee, but there are free options if you're a self-publishing author on a budget. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. So I've got 4 of them that I tested out that I'm going to show you, and let's get started. Okay, so let's get started with PapyrusAuthor. I'm not going to show you all of the features available in the free version, but here are the ones that I think are the most interesting or useful. So right off the bat, you can see it looks like a pretty standard word processor, and that makes sense since you're supposed to use it to write your manuscripts and keep all your notes in one place. So at the top, you can see you have all your font and formatting options, the line spacing, anything you need to get a manuscript ready for publishing. But here's what sets it apart from Microsoft Word, though. Over here on the left, you've got a navigator that breaks down your manuscript by chapter and scene. And if you want to go to a particular scene, you just click on it, and there you go. You're there. It makes it really easy to hop around through your document instead of having to scroll the whole way through. The thing that's really useful about it though is, let's say I want to swap these two scenes. I decide that the third scene should actually be the second one in that chapter. If I was using Word, I would have to copy and paste that whole scene into its new location. But with PapyrusAuthor, this is very convenient. All you have to do is you take that scene and you drag it to where you want it to be. And then now in the manuscript, it just moved it to that new spot. And then another useful feature is actually this pin board over here. So you can leave little sticky notes for yourself with notes that you would want to remind yourself of as you're writing. And you can actually drag it over here, I think. Yep, you can drag it over and it'll attach itself to different things in the text, but I'm going to keep it over here. So I think that might be useful. But I think that this is probably what's going to appeal to most authors. If you go up here to author and then go to my characters, there you go. You can now have a list of characters here, and it's going to have all of the information you need to know about them. I didn't plug all of them in. This is just an example. This is one of my sci-fi short stories. So let's open Peter Corrientes. So now here you basically have a character profile. You could put all of the information you want, and it categorizes it. So there's a tab for personality, one for physical features, their background, their social life. All of these are things that you're going to want to know while you're writing, so it's very convenient to have it here in one place. Now, if we actually go back to the manuscript, let me get back there, you'll see that in the actual text, it's going to highlight the names of the characters based on whatever values you put. So, like if you put their first name or their first and last name or just their last name, it's going to highlight it here. So, I didn't write anything for Aphrodite, but where's Peter? So, for Peter, you click on that, you can go right to the profile, or if you don't want to click on it, it should show up here. Yes, so if you hover over it, it's going to show you the basic information about them. So that's pretty cool. And then I think this will really appeal to epic sci-fi and fantasy authors. But if you go back up here to author and then go to timeline, this is great. I wish I had something like this when I was writing mine. It automatically pulls the chapters and the scenes from your manuscript and it will put them here in a timeline. And for each scene, you can set when it starts and when it ends, like either as a date or a time. So I didn't do that, so it just kind of put them here and evenly distributed them. But if I had put in a date and a time for each scene, it's going to stretch them so that way it actually lasts that amount of time and the timeline is accurate. Another thing that's cool about this, though, is that you don't just have to add the chapters and the scenes. You can add events to this timeline. So events that you didn't directly depict in a scene, like let's say some sort of law is passed in the background that now affects your plot. You could put when that happened without it actually being a scene in the manuscript. So that's pretty interesting, and I think that that is a really useful thing that honestly I wish I had this when I was writing my sci-fi novel. And then this is the last thing I'm going to show you. Since PapyrusAuthor is meant to, you're meant to write your entire manuscript in here and keep all your notes here, I'm going to show you this. So when you're finished doing that, you've formatted it, you've done everything you wanted to do, you can actually export it from here to an EPUB, which means that you'll be ready to upload that to whatever distributor you're using, and you can go ahead and publish an ebook. So I don't know how the formatting turns out when it converts it. I didn't try that, so I can't really speak to that. But with the amount of formatting that you can do here, like it's not, it gives you all of these different options. I would imagine that you could probably make a pretty decent ebook with this. So anyway, that's Papyrus Author. It took me a little while to figure it out at first, but it did grow on me pretty quickly. I might actually try to use it for real in the future, so I think it's a pretty solid option if you're looking to try out some free novel writing software. Okay, so next let's take a look at YWriter. I actually have a soft spot for YWriter because this is what I use to organize my notes while writing my novels, but it's promoted as novel writing software designed by an author. You're going to see pretty quickly that even though you can export your text to EPUB like the other programs, it's definitely more useful for organization and analysis than word processing. But let me show you. You're going to see that. So like the first program we looked at, YWriter has a navigator over here on the left that's going to break down your manuscript by chapter and scene. So you click on any given chapter, you're going to see all the scenes listed out here. The interface is pretty straightforward. I think it's definitely a lot simpler than any other program I'm going to show you today, but you're going to see that once you click on one of these scenes, this is where you insert all of the information that you want about it. So here is where you would actually have the text. You can see you have some really basic formatting options up here. So honestly, I just wrote in a Word file and then copied each scene into this. That way I could organize it later and really keep track of things and the distribution of characters. But I probably wouldn't write the manuscript in this program. It's just a little bit too basic, I think. But you could go to these other tabs. You could have details about the scene where you could put the goal, conflict, and outcome. And this is pretty cool. You can rate your scenes for relevance, tension, humor, and quality so you know what to go back to and what to work on. You can set if it's an action or reaction scene and the level of importance, if it's important to the plot or a subplot. You also have where you can put all your characters. So you insert your characters on another page. Oh, this is just to edit her. I'll show you later. But here's where you can assign characters to each scene. You say the first one is whoever's point of view it is, if it's third person. So it's Aphrodite's point of view. You can put the locations here, any items. I don't have any. But if you had any special items that you want to include, you put it here. You could take some notes about it. You could put a picture. This is the useful thing that I should have used when I was writing my novel, but you can actually keep track of the amount of time that each scene lasts and a specific date and time for them. I don't think you can generate a timeline though. So this would really, you'd have to go into each one and individually look at it to see how time is progressing. But anyway, let's get out of that scene. Now let me show you where you can do characters. So you go up here to characters, obviously. You can view the ones that we have here. So you have each character, you can put a short name, a full name, and an AKA. Let's open up Aphrodite. I don't think I put anything in here, but you can set if they're a major or a minor character, write a description for them, put their biography, any notes you want, stuff about their goals, and you can upload a photo if you want to. You could do the same thing with locations. It's basically the exact same format. So you open that up, except now if it doesn't have all those other tabs, it's just the details in a picture. So yes, as I said before, it's pretty straightforward. And I think based on what I've shown you, it's pretty clear that YWriter is better used for organizing and planning. It was a really helpful way for me to visualize my novel. And I also use some of the analytics like word count for character. You can actually see that. You could do show scenes per character. So I didn't put all the characters in here and assign them to scenes, so it's only showing Aphrodite, but she has 9 scenes. But even more useful than that actually is the show word count per character. So, a character might show up in 9 scenes, but if they're really, really tiny scenes, then there could be another character who's only in 3 who has way more words written about them because they're just longer scenes. So if you see the distribution of word count per character, you know how much time you've spent delving into each character or at least depicting them. and how that is really playing out with the reader. Like how much time are they spending getting invested in a certain character? Like how often are they seeing this character? So it has little interesting analytic features like that, but again, it's pretty straightforward. It's very basic, and I like that because there's nothing too complicated. And if you're just using it for organization planning, then I think that this gets the job done. I don't think you really need anything too fancy. So while I probably wouldn't write my manuscript in there and export it from this into an EPUB and actually try to publish that, I will say it's definitely worth trying out as a way to plan out and organize your novel. Okay, so let's take a look at our third program of the day, which is Bibisco. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. This is not my favorite, but who knows? Maybe you'll like it. So let's take a look at it. So you can see once you open it up, it has some basic information about your project. So has the title, tells you the word count, and then all of the things that you've entered. So it's not going to automatically figure this out. You have to actually tell it that there are 2 chapters, there's 9 scenes, how many main characters, all of that. So first thing you can do is go to the architecture of your novel. So this, you can put in a premise, you can write a fabula, which I had no idea what that was, to be quite honest, until I actually saw this. But then again, I am not formally educated in creative writing. And then there is some stuff where you can put about the settings and notes. You open these up, and it's like you can write one thing and then you hit save. So I don't like the layout. I really don't like the interface, and I think that it is annoying that you have to hit back to go back to something. There aren't just like, it has these tabs on the side, but once you're actually in there, if you open anything else up, you have to hit back down here, which is just, I think it's obnoxious. So you can add narrative strands if you'd like. I didn't put any in here. And then, so that's the architecture of your novel. But then you can go down to characters. This is the part that's going to be more useful. So this is where you can enter your main characters and any secondary characters here. So when you open up a main character, now you have your profile here. So it has different sections for, personal data, physical features, behaviors, and attitudes. So if you open up any of these, go in here. I don't like, this is going to be a lot of complaining from me, I'm sorry, but I don't like that it's, normally you would be able to just have a field where you can enter everything that you want, and that's it. But this is like personal data. It's going to treat it like an interview. So it asks you all of these questions, which, okay, starts out pretty basic: first name, last name, nickname, gender, age. Okay, great. Sounds pretty basic. Then you get down here, and okay, this is still reasonable questions. What kind of house are they in? Do they rent? Fine. But when you go, okay, this is another thing. So most of these programs, well, I guess I'm only showing you 4, but the other programs are all free. Like there may be a paid version, but the free version has pretty much all of the functionality of the paid one. So this one, though, the free version is very, very limited. So this pops up all the time since I'm doing like a free trial right now where it lets me do all of the features, but it will warn me when it's something that is just for the paid subscribers. So guess you can't do that. Let's see. Oh, now it's letting me open it. I don't know, but here, these are the kinds of questions that I think are bizarre. Like what? That's a funny question. What is their backside like? But what are their legs and ankles like? What are their feet like? Are they hairy? They're just not going to apply to, like, these just aren't questions that I would necessarily think to ask. Like, how often are you going to have to tell someone or tell your reader, oh, my character has the most elegant feet? Like this is, I don't know. That's just weird to me. So I don't like that those are preset questions. And again, I don't like that you have to hit back to go to the main section. So anyway, here we're back on the character page. Let's go on locations. So it's just like the characters. You can open that, you can write whatever you want for it, hit back. And then this is the part that more people are going to be using. This is where you can organize your chapters and scenes. So we go under chapter 1 or part 1. Then you could put what the reason for the chapter is, like what role it plays, how it contributes to the development of the novel. And you can break it down by scenes. So for each scene, This is where you can actually write it if you want to. It automatically sets it to this like courier type, so you can't really, I don't know, can you change that? Let's see. I don't know. It has some formatting options here. I I wouldn't write my manuscript in this personally, but maybe someone else might like that. But this is where you could put that. You put the text of it. You could set what kind of revision, like what revision it's at, like whether it's what draft it is, and then yeah. So that's how you can organize that. The thing though is that the more useful features are in the paid version. So something like let's see, like a timeline, that's something really useful. Can't do it with the free one. Even with, let's see what kind of analysis it'll give us. So with the free one, it does still let you do that, so that's good. But you can, it'll tell you how long the chapters are by words, how the characters are distributed, and the list of the characters' appearances and where it is, and all of that, locations. So this is some useful stuff. Like that's great that you can find this stuff out about your novel and analyze it that way, but I just don't know if the limitations of the free version of this program really it's just not worth it to me. I feel like it's kind of clunky. I don't think that is very intuitive with the way the interface is or the way you have to navigate the interface. Like the interface itself is not hard, but I think that I hate this back button. It drives me crazy. So you could try Bibisco if you'd like, but I would just be very surprised if people thought, oh, this free version, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. I really don't think it is. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, and let's take a look at our last writing program of the day. This is the Reedsy book editor. So this is the only one of the ones that I've shown you that is actually web-based. And since it's web-based, that makes it really easy for collaboration, and I like that. If you have a co-author or someone who's working on your novel with you, both of you can access this anytime. You can just log into Reedsy and you can pull up your bookshelf, just like over here. I just put in that same short story here as an example. Click on it, and it opens up your book. This is taking a little while. I should have just left that tab open. There it is. Okay, so now we're in the manuscript again. So you can track changes really easily. So that's why I think it would be good if you're collaborating, because it's going to show you any comments that people leave. It's going to show you whatever revisions were made. So it's going to be really easy to work with someone else on your manuscript. So let's get out of that. But let's look at the interface. So here it's got the navigator like all the other ones do. Here you can see it broken down by chapter. It does not break it down by scene, so you can only assign chapters here. It's also going to have the front matter of your book, so it'll automatically generate a copyright page for you. So this is cool. I have not seen this, and I think this is pretty helpful. You can put in the edition, your publication, all of the ISBNs, name of the publisher. You can add a logo if you want, if you self-publish. And then you have any collaborators you can include. But this is the part I really like. So I always have that all rights reserved little clause at the beginning of my copyright page. And I just pulled that from some website somewhere. Like I just looked up generic clause and then copied and pasted it. It was fine. So this though, instead of you having to search for one that you like or that works, you can just hit all rights reserved, or you can click on this one. It's going to add that this novel is entirely a work of fiction. You can add moral rights, external content. All of this is stuff that's just going to get automatically plugged into the copyright page, and I think that's great. I really like that. And then it automatically will generate a table of contents for you if you'd like, based on the chapters that you have set. And then it also has back matter for your book. So you could put an about the author page, and then it actually allows you to include a photo if you'd like. So I like that. That's pretty cool. The thing with Reedsy Book Editor that becomes evident very, very quickly is that it is meant for publishing. Like this is really for the formatting of your manuscript and the exporting it to EPUB or whatever format you choose. So you can write your novel in here, and with the way that its word processor is set up, I think it looks pretty nice. And apparently it's typesets as you're writing, so it's ready to be published by the time you're done. So I would write a manuscript in here, and it is convenient that it's in a cloud, so you can access this anywhere if you don't have your computer with you. But there isn't a lot of opportunities for note keeping. Like if you go here, there is a planning tab, and it tells you some stuff on basically how to write a book. But you can add the only way that it is set up is you can add these notes. So you can add like a new note, and it's just blank. And so I made one for this. This is the one of the main characters, Aphrodite Van Texel. I love that name. I don't care if anyone thinks it's stupid. But here, you put in whatever fields you want, but it starts out blank. So it has a space here for you to write like a line or two, and then you enter whatever fields you want. So I added height and sex, but you could put anything you want, but then you have to do this every time you make a note. Like, let's say you're making notes for your characters, you're gonna have to do this every time. So it's kind of annoying, and it doesn't really distinguish between types of notes so far as I can tell. So you're just going to be making a new one for every single entry in your notes, like this is this character, that's that character, this is that setting, this is that item, this is that piece of background information. Like, I just don't think that that is super useful, except for maybe some like really basic notes that you want to take. But this really isn't meant for that. Like, Reedsy Book Editor really is geared towards the publishing. This isn't so much for note keeping like the other programs might be. This is good for organizing the chapters and actually typesetting, formatting, and exporting your ebooks. So that's really what Reedsy is good for. I like this. I think it looks nice. I think that it would be fun to write in, but other than that, I wouldn't use this for note keeping. It's really not meant for that. And this is something that I think the next time I do an ebook, I might actually try to see how it turns out when it's exported, because I think this might actually turn out pretty nice. So anyway, that is Reedsy Book Editor. It's kind of set apart from the other ones in the fact that it's not really meant too much for note taking, but it's definitely something that I would say try it out, especially if you're trying to do an ebook and you're just getting ready to format that manuscript and get it out there for publishing. So I think you should try this out. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the free writing software that's out there. If you decide you want to try novel writing software, then think about what you're going to be using it for, because clearly some of these are better for analysis and organization, and then other ones are better for actual word processing and formatting. So figure out what you need it for. If you're someone like me and you just really needed a place to keep your notes and be able to visualize the structure of your novel and how characters are distributed and word count, everything like that, then something like YWriter would be good for you. But if you really want to be able to format and publish from that, then there are other options that you could use, like PapyrusAuthor. But if you have another free program you typically use, or if you've had any experience with these 4 programs, then definitely put it in the comments, because I'd be interested to see which ones you guys find the most useful. I put links in the description to each of these so you can try them out if you want to, and then let me know what you thought. And if you found this video helpful or interesting, then please like and subscribe, follow me on social media, and as always, thank you for watching. God bless.